You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma Podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. A huge shout out to Governor Anatobi for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901. They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. So yeah, go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome.
Just because it's my, I mean, if you come find me in real life, you call me whatever you want. But I'll talk about, I mean, my family.
Yeah, I'm sure they appreciate it.
It's a family nickname. So,
okay.
My extended family's called me Jazz my whole life.
Okay.
Are we recording?
Yeah, just hit record. So
yeah, my family's called me Jazz my whole life.
Okay.
When I was growing up, pre-verbal era, my cousin Conrad, who's just a couple months younger than me, couldn't say my name. He called me Jaskin.
Okay.
And it pissed me off. Like, my name is Jackson.
Yeah.
And with my aunts and uncles, they thought that was kind of cute, so Jaskin, and they'll still call me that, but it became Jazz. And I've been Jazz for my family for a long time.
All right.
And that turned into, if you ever caught me at Cookies karaoke, I'd be Jazzy on the mic. I'd always be Jazzy at Cookies. That was my karaoke name.
You're the second person that's kind of referred to Cookies in the last month and a half that's been on the podcast.
Shout out Cookies. Best karaoke in the city, right?
I've never been. I need
What?
to now that you're the second.
Dude.
I mean, you know this too. If one or two people kind of recommend place, you're like, I should probably go check it out.
I can't believe I'm going to get on the podcast, talk about
Cookies
my
karaoke.
journey with sobriety, among other things, and shout out the dingiest, best, gnarliest karaoke bar in the city.
That's what
it's
we
a good
do,
place,
we keep it real,
goes
right?
out. Yeah, exactly.
So we were just saying, I just before we started recording, I just asked you, it was Jackson formerly when we did the podcast in 2020, episode 218, which I will link below. People can go and get your story there up until that point. And now it's Jazz. And so I'm glad you explained that because, I love family names and, people can think what they want, right? If it's just a personal rebrand or an awakening or whatever you want to call it. But no, it was a family name. So
My full name is Jackson Greathouse Fall. My middle name is Greathouse. That's my mom's maiden name, so it's also a family name. I demoed out Greathouse for a few years. I don't know if I was going by the full three names last time we chatted, but
You
man,
definitely mentioned it.
I had so many conversations. People were like, "Oh, where'd you come up with Greathouse? That's such a funny name." I'm like, "No, that's my actual name." Yeah. So if you already think that I'm making up a name, I might as well just go by a fun nickname, right? Yeah. Right. So Jackson Greathouse Fall, kind of a mouthful, intriguing but confusing. Jazz Fall, 2 syllables, 4 letters each, lends itself to branding quite well, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, you could have gone full acronym and just gone JGHR, right? And just kind of monikered that.
Yeah.
Every item of clothing that you have in like a gold royale type of. Because that's one thing we did talk about in 2020 was the fact that I envy the way that you dress.
Oh,
You're a very
thank you.
snazzy dresser, and I still came in today looking great. So
Appreciate it. I'm not sure what I was wearing last time. Do you have any notes or do you
Probably a
remember
waistcoat.
that?
I think it was a
Oh yeah,
waistcoat.
maybe I was. Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Toasty September. I remember we were at the West Village Apartments. It was a fun little sit down that we got to have. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was no rooms available, and now we're in the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. Shout out to them because they're amazing, and I've been a great host, and I love coming here. I love coming here because I love bringing guests here, and you walk in and you're like, this place is amazing. I'm like, great.
Boom.
I'll show you around later.
Yeah, I can't wait to check it out. This is awesome. Shouts out.
They have an events venue too, or they are an events venue as well. So most people know this place because they've had a wedding here or a lunch or whatever it is. But yeah, fantastic building, great spot, and reach out to them if you want to have any event space stuff in the future. But let's talk about you. September 2020, when we last recorded, you moved to LA not long after that.
Yeah, I was
Why
running.
did you move to LA?
Well, I think that COVID got its best of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I apparently couldn't get enough of COVID because as Oklahoma was loosening its restrictions on lockdowns and whatnot, I decided to pack up the old Honda CR-V and the dog within it, drive a couple thousand miles down I-40 west to Los Angeles, unpack, move into my new apartment, and realize that it was like going back to March 2020, what it was in Oklahoma. They were very locked down on everything. I got out of Oklahoma after wrapping up my time at an agency that I was running here in the city with a business partner of mine. We'd been working on some branding projects locally. We wrapped up those. How do I want to say that song?
It was Sophia.
Yeah,
right?
with Sophia. Yeah, so we both went separate ways in December.
Naturally. Or just like decide like this isn't going to work. We're going to need to go separate ways.
I instigated because I said, "Well, you want to
cut this out too.
Yeah, it's fine. No, we can leave it in too." The real story is that my girlfriend broke up with me, and 2 days later, within the next 2 days, I decided to leave Oklahoma.
I'm done.
Yeah, I said, look, if this is how it's going to go, I've already been kind of thinking about what's next.
Okay.
I know that I wanted to take a break from the work that I was doing with Fringe and the style of work that I was doing. That's a very specific kind of branding project. My background's in graphic design, but I was kind of wanting to move more into a strategic and like tech world. Was my first love, man. Like startups were my love. It's what got me into the game in the first place. So I wanted to get back into that, and I wanted to, get out to some better weather. I wanted to some sunshine. I grew up in Los Angeles, Mike.
Yeah.
So it to me was a move back to the basics. When girlfriend broke up with me, I probably didn't protest as much as I should have. I just kind of let that fly. And 2 days later, she called me and was like, I take that back. It's, can we like revisit this? And I, on the phone, said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm moving to Los Angeles. I have a place and I'm leaving on this day."
Yeah, I'm done.
Which felt kind of great at the same time. Like, no ill will or anything. Everything works out well for everyone in the end. I ended up spending a little just shy of 1 year in Los Angeles. Okay. And as I'm telling the story to you, I'm realizing that the women in my life have significant influence over the decisions that I've made. How does this work? That another girl that I was dating said, "Hey, let's go to London over Christmas, and then we can go to Paris because I know you love Paris." And I said, "Great idea. Yeah, let's do that."
Yeah.
So we did. And then I got to Paris, and I said, "Hey, so you know about that us going back to Los Angeles to resume our lives? I'm going to stay here, actually. I forgot. I really am just going to kick it here for a minute." So I did that.
And you'd already learned French at this point, right?
Yeah, I spent a year in France when I was 15 years old. I did a study abroad. So I was just talking to my host mom earlier today. We were catching up. Yeah. I say host mom. She let me live in her house with her kids when I was 15 years old for a year. She deserves the title of mom for putting up with my antics for a full school year. Good Lord, man. Can you imagine? Yeah. So I already spoke the language. It was an easy kind of slip back into that. I've got a bunch of friends in France. It felt natural. My work was going really well. I'd been, I'd made a transition into working with tech startups, and I was doing some work that I was really proud of. Team was growing fast. This is spring of 2022.
Okay.
When the market was ripping, man.
Yeah.
And I think universally there was a kind of a battering we all took over 2023. It was kind of a tough year for a lot of different industries. 2022 was fun though. I was kicking it in France. My team was in New York. We had clients in mostly LA and New York, and was doing some really big. Got to see my work on a New York taxi cab for the first time, and got to see some billboards that I'd done, and it's cool to see that growth of work and to see your design that you've worked on in the world.
Because that's what it comes back to for you, right? Like, it's graphic design, it's startups, and no matter where you are in the world, you can still do that as long as you have an internet connection. That's
right. That's what it was. Paris is a very indulgent city. Mike, I don't know if you've been before.
I have.
It's a very chill and leisurely city that lends itself to the notion that should you choose to rise at a late hour and get up and greet the day with a walk along the river, you pass those little shops, and you pass a little picturesque cafe with the wicker furniture out front and the waiters with the trays and the bow ties, and you say, oh, I can have a glass of wine. It's noon. That's all right.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, mais oui, bien sûr, tu peux avoir du vin. C'est normal. It's like, this is fine. Yeah. Turns out you do that enough days in a row, you realize you kind of have a problem, and that Paris is really just totally playing into your own insanities of, okay, maybe like once a blue moon, yeah, that's fine. When in Rome, right? Haha, when in Paris. Yeah. When you're living there, and like me, you're not opening your computer for a week at a time. You're not doing work. Yeah. You are fully living la vida tranquilo. It creeps up. It crept up on me. Okay. So what happened? Yeah, we can.
What was your living situation at this point?
I had a cool apartment, man. Okay. It was a really cool place.
Yeah. So the business was doing well enough that you had an apartment.
Yeah.
And just like
it was until it wasn't, right? Yeah. Like I think that I went out there with this very clear image in my head of like, I'm doing awesome, and nothing can ever go wrong, and I totally I let a lot of people, I let a lot of clients down. I let a lot of people on my team down. Mm-hmm. And I'm still, actively in the process of kind of making those amends with people, because I got so stoked on Paris, man. Like, what a cool place to live. It was really great.
So you go on a Christmas trip with the girl you're dating, and she says, let's go to Paris too. And you're like, yeah, I'm staying. I love this place.
Yeah.
And then, like you just mentioned, it kind of slowly eats away at you, and it's obviously not productive. How long do you stay? How long do you make it last for?
Yeah, it ate away in the best way. I mean, it was so enjoyable while I was there. And I think, I was there from a January to December.
Okay. All the seasons.
I saw the gamut of it. I saw it all. Yeah.
What was the coolest thing that came to Paris in that time? Because you've obviously, were you there when the Rugby World Cup was there or not?
I was there for the Football World Cup. Which was brutal.
Crazy.
It's brutal. I was at a little bar. My sister Alice was in town. She stayed with me in my apartment for a month and a half.
Okay.
November, December.
Yeah.
I had this apartment with a little loft space up. Climb up some stairs. There's just like an unfinished loft area. So she came into town. We went to IKEA, got an air mattress, got the bed set, got some pillows, put together a little bedroom for her up there, and it was great having her live with me for a little while. It was raining that day of the World Cup. It was raining that day. I remember so well. France was down.
Yeah.
The whole, first, 3 quarters of it.
Right.
And then they came back, And it was like, oh my God,
City is
they're gonna
alive.
win this. Everyone was so down, and then they were so up,
Yeah.
and then they lost.
And they lost to
And
Argentina.
it was so brutal. But it was fun being like, out in public at a major sporting event like that, right? It was cool. And we were there for the whole, not just the finale, but the whole World
Right.
Cup. What was the coolest thing that happened while I was there? The truth is, okay, I have a fun story, and then I have the real story.
Which one do you want
The fun story is that one of my favorite groups is a French rap group called Odezen,
Okay.
and I got to see them on tour 7 times in 1 year. I was like a little groupie, like I followed them around, and because of that, I got to visit a bunch of towns and cities in France that I would have not normally gone to. So I went to like Tours and Angers and Dijon and Toulouse and like all kinds of like cool places. In Dijon, I met this like group of kids in the front row. We were like, yeah, it's so fun, Odezen. And I was like, hey, y'all are a great bunch. My birthday's tomorrow. Y'all want to come up to Paris and come to my birthday party? Yes. And so they did, and we still keep in touch. They're a great group. Meeting a bunch of people. I mean, speaking the language lends itself so well to,
Especially being an American in Paris.
yeah, everyone wants to be friends with the American.
Yeah.
And when I can hold my own in conversation, and I feel like I've got, I like to think I have a certain kind of a sense of humor in English. And I think that I have a completely different personality and sense of humor when I speak French, which is really weird for me to tread the line between both. It's cool though. I will always love France, and I will love Paris. I will love the time that I've spent there. I love the language. The truth is, I very quickly and suddenly, and in a way that I didn't think could ever affect me, fell into what became regular and destructive drug and alcohol abuse. And it started off as like, oh, this is fun. Paris is a party city. My friends like to go out. I like to go out. I like to be social, have fun. But I'm going out every single night of the week. And I was too involved with all of my own internal, world. I was too involved with myself to ever step back and look at, okay, there's going out on the weekends. There's even going out during the week, but every single night, going hard, running, because if I slow down to look at, myself, if I slow down to look at myself, I think I was too scared to, confront who I was and who I had kind of become in a lot of ways. I was losing track of myself in a lot of ways. So I came back to Oklahoma City because, and I hope it's okay if I speak candidly about this stuff on the show.
I totally agree. What was that breakthrough moment before you came back to Oklahoma City? What was that darkest moment?
There was no breakthrough moment. The breakthrough moment was, I'm going to go get a flight back to Oklahoma City because Alice, my sister, who was living with me at the time, is doing it, and I was on the fence. And I had some, I booked the flight on Chase Sapphire Points, so I got back to Oklahoma with the intention in my head of coming back to Paris. I kept my apartment there. Yeah. Maintaining a drug and alcohol habit in Paris is not cheap, man.
I'm sure.
And when you are not doing any work and not really making any effort to further myself and in my career, to grow or to learn or to contribute or to nurture my creativity in any way, it quickly causes a feeling of a dry pit that I didn't want to look at. And I was so so deeply unhappy.
Did your sister know that like you coming back or her moving home was like a catalyst to you coming home?
I think her coming to stay with me in November was a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Because it allowed me to take a step back. Now, I didn't take much action on that. I was, and Alice and I have talked about this. I don't think she'll mind me sharing, but like, you know, her being there could not have come at a more opportune time. Really, that in a few other, you know, select things were the like make or break, life-saving, happenstancey things that, you know, paths could have diverged in very different ways. I'm grateful that I'm here. You know, I don't want to get too into like the particulars of what was going on. It was just not pretty, man.
Yeah.
It wasn't
in
fun.
a dark place.
And like, you know, I'm a happy guy. I'm a cheerful guy, and that's real. That's me. I love people, and I love, you know, life and all this. I love being here. And so to be in direct conflict when the inside and the outside don't match, that's hard, man. Right. That's like a discord that's hard to swallow. It's hard to grapple with. And I didn't know how to look at that. So I just kept on like going down a increasingly more menacing path.
Because at the time it felt good, and you knew it would feel like it would suppress whatever the actual real thoughts of you having like, this is not good, but you know.
I heard someone say something today actually where I was talking to someone who's been sober from drugs and alcohol for 38 years. And he said, and he's old, you know, but he said like, I, you know, drank and drugged for 20 years so that I could feel how I feel right now. It's like, oh, right. Because what we're really looking for is like presence and clarity. And isn't it ironic that I was doing everything but taking time to be present and clear? We'll get into that in a second. I came back to Oklahoma for Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't remember much of Christmas or New Year's of last year. And I've said that publicly. I'll say that again. I don't. So I'll kind of keep the story going unless you want to space this out with another question or something.
Well, my question was going to be, what did it feel like to come home? But you come home during Christmas, which is a very merry time to come home.
Sure.
It probably wasn't the best time for you to come home based on your current state.
And no one knew. Like, you know, I love my parents and I have a great relationship with my family that I'm super grateful for. But, you know, everyone is so much... I think I can say everyone's happier turning a blind eye to certain things. When it's not, you know, like, when it's not like something so drastic that you have to confront, a lot of the times I think it's easier to just pretend like something's not there. I'm guilty of that all the time. You know, in all manner of aspects of my life. You know, I think that we all do that to an extent. Like, we want to choose the lighter. This is like becoming a really dark podcast. I don't want to be so like.
It's not going to be dark
down,
at the end though, because obviously you're here today and you're in great spirits. So
yeah, there's a happy ending to this.
There's going to be a lesson here, and I can't wait to get to it.
So, December, January, February, March.
You're still in Oklahoma at this point?
I'm here.
Living at home?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That must be hard, going from like living the life in Paris and then going the path that you went on to come back to Oklahoma after being in LA, Paris, and then it's like, you know.
It was weird. I don't really know. I wish I could tell you what was going through my mind more. Like, I really do. So I still had my apartment with a bunch of my stuff in Paris. I had not gone back to vacate it. I'm sure there were people out there who very much wished that I would vacate it, but I didn't. I didn't end up going back until April. Yeah. At which point, I got all my stuff and vacated my apartment in Paris. But even that was weird and kind of jarring experience. It was a very, very surreal. I was in Paris for 24 hours.
Wow, you went back quick and just like, I can't be here long enough. I'm going to go and get this over and done with and jump on a plane. Okay.
Thankfully, I had a good friend who came down from London with me. So we were staying at his flat in London, and we both... we fly down? Or we take I guess we've taken the train before, but we flew down that time.
Do you feel like you closed the chapter there, though? Had you started the sobriety process, or the
Nope.
sobriety process? It's a tough one to say. At that point, or not?
I didn't know that sobriety was an option until March or April.
Yeah.
I was working on a design project with a friend of mine who brought me in to the project and had shared with me similarities of something we were doing to a 12-step program that he had worked. And I had no idea. I just knew that every time that we had hung out in LA, he drank iced tea.
Yeah.
I didn't think anything of it. And it was like over this Zoom call when he offhandedly mentioned that this had like affected his life. Now I'm in Oklahoma City in March. Not unlike today or yesterday, beautiful day, gorgeous. I mean, high 70s, sunny, no wind. I'm sitting outside on the patio at 30th Street Market.
Great
It's
spot.
1 p.m. I've got a beer. Life is good. We're on this Zoom call, and he tells me about his experience with his own sobriety, right as I'm like, and I kind of freeze. And in that moment, I had this like, oh, I'm totally having a beer on a work call at 1 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh. And I put it out of frame. I took my glass and just kind of slid it away. So you'd think, oh, and then I explored more about, what this could mean. I did a little bit of research on my own. And I made the decision that it was time for me to stop drinking. False. No, I didn't do a damn thing about that for another 6 months. I proceeded to deny that, even though I knew, and I can tell you, I knew the second that he told me that, it was like someone had just shone a light in my face.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, not only does this apply to me, but this is where I'm heading. Like, this is the path that I'm going down. Okay, I knew that. Meanwhile, every ego, rational, irrational, every conscious part of my mind that is entangled with this identity of Jackson Fall that I've created for myself said, pump the brakes, buddy. How are you gonna, you wanted to go to culinary school. How are you gonna be a chef if you can't have a glass of wine at dinner? And you love hosting people for, dinner parties at your apartment. How are you gonna do that if you can't serve them cocktails? And how da-da-da-da-da-da. And oh, you love, part of your work is entertaining clients. What, you're not gonna have a martini? Your logo for your agency is a martini, idiot. Like, this is me talking to myself. And then I go, oh, the logo for my agency is literally a martini? Like, what? My Twitter bio for my agency was the champagne design and graphic drinking studio of Jackson Fall.
Oh my gosh.
It had been casual alcoholism had become so ingrained in my own identity of who I was. Yeah. I just never wanted to look at it or think about it. I was normal.
Yeah. In the world that you're in, you're normal, right? The advertising world that you're in, that's normal. But
I've talked about this with a few friends who are also in the advertising world, and we've just all come to the agreement that we're retiring our jerseys. We've graduated to Hall of Fame, Oklahoma Hall of Fame. Yeah. No, with all seriousness, my self-preservation ego mind, I think that I approached it from an angle of self-preservation, because I was like, I'm not ready for the complete catastrophic deconstruction and I don't know. Hopefully reconstruction of something of who, like, am I losing myself?
Yeah. Was the business at this point still doing okay? Like you rebuilding
No.
the relationships? You're like, what, I mean, are you making money? Like what's
No.
the scene like at
No.
that point?
No. This is, say, summer 2020. I have pretty much alienated and lost everyone who was on my team.
Summer 22 or 23?
Summer 23.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much alienated and lost everyone that I'd worked with, that I was working with.
Yeah.
Because of my own, I was unable to communicate. I was unable to, just show up for the day. I wasn't able to log in and like be present.
Yeah. Because you went pretty viral, right?
Yeah.
At a certain point, like because that was, I remember seeing it because I listened to it on My First Million podcast and they referenced you, and I looked back through our text chain and I think I screenshot it and sent it to you. I was like, dude, I just heard you. Your name. Like, because I think the first time I saw it was 1:37 p.m. posted something, an interview you did with them.
That was fun. I went up to New York and that was a lot of fun.
Tell that story. Like how did that happen?
Okay.
And how that ties into everything.
I'll tie it all in. Yeah. That was fun. So, I remember where I was when ChatGPT dropped. I was at the Guinness Rock Tavern in Paris at 4:00 in the morning. Who knows how many pints deep? Yeah. And I looked at my phone, and this is the place that I would always go to. And I looked at my phone and went, oh my God, this is the cool. I saw Sam Altman's tweet because 4 a.m. Paris time was 4 p.m. Los Angeles, or however it works. It was so cool. It was, and immediately I was figuring out ways that I could use this in work, and that alone, that was November of 22 that came out. That was inspiring. That was a lot. So I'd always stayed kind of at the forefront of that. And I was big on, Twitter for myself, a lot of friends on Twitter. I love Twitter, actually. Mike, I joined Twitter when I was 12 years old. Yeah. I've been on that website for more than half my life. I've made friends, lifelong friends because of that app. When I moved to Oklahoma when I was 12 years old, that was my number one and only tether to a world that I wanted to be part of, which was geographically largely based in San Francisco in the Bay Area, but was populated by people who were, doing cool things that I wanted to be a part of. Twitter was my way of connecting with them. So I'd always stayed on that. I didn't my tweets weren't good or I wasn't doing it as a marketer or a networker.
But it's a way for you to connect with the people that you want to be a part of, the people you want to work for, whatever it is. That's where you get to.
So March 15th was right after ChatGPT 4 came out, and I was thinking, there's so much more. So everyone was using, and to a large extent still is using, ChatGPT for very specific things like help me plagiarize this essay for my 9th grade English class, or help me turn this piece of writing into a poem, or the kind of the textbook things that people use ChatGPT for. I like to think that I had a small role to play in the broadening of understanding of the general public's idea of what ChatGPT was, how it was designed, and how you could leverage it as a creative bouncing board, as a sounding board for ideas that was so far beyond X input to Y output, going through this black box of I don't know what happens in there. So what I said was, you are Hustle GPT. You have a budget of $100 that I control, but I will allocate it however you choose with the goal of making as much money as possible. Mm-hmm. So whatever you tell me to do, I will go out and allocate that money, and then I'll update you on what happens from there, and we'll just keep posted. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to live tweet this, obviously, because that's funny. What a silly little idea,
Because the upside is very good.
Could be. Yeah, if you stick through it. Like if you actually did that, so spoiler alert, it works, you know, like it because to an AI language model, a couple pennies of return on $100 is more than nothing.
Yeah.
So whereas like a person might be like, that's not worth pursuing because it doesn't move my needle enough, to a robot with an infinite time horizon, it's like, yeah, everything helps. So there, it reframes our very human ways of looking at things. And so, surprise, surprise, it blew up. I mean, like crazy.
How much money did it make?
I have no idea. I don't know. I'll get there. I'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't, but it was so quickly not about that.
Yeah.
And that was my stumbling block. And my ultimate point of failure was that I felt like I had to choose between suddenly being the AI person or actually just like ignoring all the noise and doing the thing that I set out to do. It got like 25 million views in a few days. I got about 130,000 followers on Twitter in 48 hours.
It's insane.
It's nuts. I mean, no, like that's unheard of.
Yeah.
Bananas. But it's because it was a really good idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
It was
like,
a really good idea. No one had ever done anything like it. And what ended up happening was thousands of people did their own ChatGPT, Hustle GPT challenges. And a lot of people stuck to it.
Well, stuck to it.
Failed, sure. But like, who cares about the people who failed? Because like, you didn't really lose any money. It's not like you deposited $100 into your ChatGPT account and it's gone. It's like either, you know, you allocate or you don't. I just know that there were hundreds of people who set up these like AI co-piloted businesses.
Yeah.
So what that meant for me was like, I think what's like I don't know.
You're thrown in the dungeon at that point of social media, of the world, of AI, of everything, right? You got all these people reaching out to you for interviews and 130,000 followers, and
my dad sat me down a couple days into it and said, he was like an actor in Hollywood. You know, he's like a sitcom actor in the 90s. Yeah, and he was like, "Don't stop showing up for class."
Yeah.
What do you mean? He's like, even the biggest names in Hollywood still go to acting class, to workshop, to, you know, do whatever actors do. I don't know.
Just kind of perfect the craft.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Reps.
What you don't do is you get a big role, starring in a movie, lead on a sitcom, series regular, whatever, and stop going to class. You don't do that. He said, don't stop going to class. And I was like, all right, yeah, whatever.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What he meant was, just because everyone's knocking on your door all of a sudden, and you have, I was doing like 16-hour days, getting up, doing back-to-back podcast interviews, TV appearances, interviews for online publications, newspapers. Like it was nonstop. And in the meantime, for a couple weeks, I was still like running the experiment, posting updates on Twitter. But as soon as I started posting on Twitter about the effect that it was having on me, oh, I'm doing this interview. Oh, we've started this online community. Oh, we're doing like this to like cultivate this world of people who love AI. I don't want to say that. I can have such thin skin, Mike. I care what people think. I really do. Yeah. I'm so guilty of being such a carer and a comment reader. Where they say, this guy was it was a scam to get us to join his Discord all along. I'm like, how could I have even planned this? Like, no. Right. I just so happen to be like really amazed at the work that other people are doing, and like, yeah, I wanted to bring everyone together into a certain place. After a certain point, Mike, I just couldn't do it anymore. how do I say this?
It's intense.
I was so overwhelmed. Also, like, within the first month, like, dealing with one in particular, but a couple, like, known scammers who, like, fully ensconced themselves in my operations. And, like, there was just so much politics and drama. All I wanted to do was mess around with ChatGPT in a fun and public way, you know? No stakes. And I think ultimately what I decided was that either I'm going to do it perfectly or I'm not going to do it at all. And sitting here on February 27th, it has been solidly 11 months since I've logged into Twitter.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
I did not expect you to say that. This is just a complete, I mean, just not good.
It's on my list of goals to get back into this year.
Yeah.
But I'm scared, man. I'm scared of...
I mean, you don't have to read all those DMs, but I'm sure there's a lot.
I don't think there really are even, you know?
Think?
I don't know. Maybe there are. Like, who cares, though?
Who cares? Doesn't matter.
I think...
it's best you don't read them.
Probably.
So that helped. That didn't obviously help. That fueled the alcohol and drugs as well as everything being in Paris and the whole scene. And mentally, not put you in a pretty dark place.
Yeah, absolutely. It sent me over the edge in a lot of ways. Because what had I been doing was, sorry, I just got a little burpee from my coffee. Excuse me. What had I been doing was ignoring, covering up emotionally, and turning my back and walking in the other direction from people, from work, from personal obligations, from family, from just about everything in my life. It was easier to, when you wake up, and this is me, like I am fully on here talking about my own special little forms of insanity, because it is that. I don't think that I am, exceptional or special in any way. I think that there are millions of people who grapple with anxiety and with undue sense of shame that is placed on ourselves for no real reason other than, someone said something mean to you in a bathroom 10 years ago and you haven't been able to get out of you know what I mean? Like I've grappled with tons of illogical entanglements with my own psyche. That's me telling myself that XYZ thing is happening in the outside world that directly affects me in ABC ways, when that really just never actually is the case, come to look at it. But every morning I would wake up with a baseline anxiety level, Mike. Baseline. Just wake up, it's on. Yeah. And so, welcome to a day in the life of Jazzfall over the last 5 or so years, 10 years. It's wake up, go back to sleep, man. Because no one wants to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I'd start off the day on a real negative note, which is just ignore. By the time I was finally out in the world, looking at all of my obligations and work that I had piling up, people that I had to respond to, people that I really wanted to respond to, but I thought, well, I didn't call them back yesterday. And now it's been another 24 hours. Think about how much more upset they're going to be with me if I call them back now. It is no different, Mike, than my 10th grade English class when I didn't go to class one morning. Yeah. And the next day I was like, well, I didn't go yesterday, so I would be really awkward coming in today. And then I never went back to that English class. Like, seriously, like this runs deep, man. Like, this is a personal insanity that I've grappled with my whole life. So I was just in ignore, and run in the other direction mode. And I'd been in that mode in some way, whether it was 10th grade English or 2024 or 2023 AI aftermath or 2022 in Paris with my clients. It was a pattern that I was so tired of trying to stay ahead of, because
You can't.
It was it was just impossible for me to pretend like it wasn't 100% my fault. You know?
Yeah.
'Cause for a while, you can pretend that it's 100% your fault.
Yeah, you can, yeah. Until something happens, you're like, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah. So talk about today then, because now you're up at 5 a.m. doing 5 a.m. spin classes, taking, cold plunges, and you have SANS, this new socialize at new standard, sobriety stuff. I mean, how it all ties together. I mean, fitness, ice bath, and cycle spinning is a complete 180. So obviously it worked out great, and you're on. You're in a great spot now, or a much better spot than you were.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
That I never had to drink again. Let me say that again. I did not realize that I didn't have to ever drink again. Mm. No one has ever put a gun to my head and said, shoot this whiskey or else I'll pull the trigger. Like, no, it's me. Let's see, how do I want to say this? My version of God for the longest time was taking a tab of acid every other Sunday when I was living in San Francisco. And for about 10 years, I coasted on the idea that I'd learned everything that I needed to know about spirituality from that.
Yeah.
I'll just leave that at that and say that my perspective of that's your real clip right there. My perspective on my explanation of and my relationship to God has changed in a profound way. I think that's kind of the number one thing that changed.
Okay.
I mean, that is the only thing that's really changed.
So that's kind of the power in that.
Yeah.
Having that relationship really gave you the strength to turn this around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that I made a conscious decision to stop drinking. Mm-hmm. And luckily, when I stopped drinking, I stopped wanting to take drugs as well. Yeah. Like they all kind of went together for me. And then I just did it one day at a time. And it started getting better. I started waking up earlier. And, personally, I think like whatever works for whatever works for you works for you. And I'm so early in my, journey with my own sobriety, and I'm still finding out more about what sobriety means to me every day.
Yeah.
What it means to me today is, people DM me on Instagram and ask me what my skincare routine is. Instead of me not showing my face on the internet because I'm waking up with cracked, dry, red eczema all over my face. I got smooth skin right now, baby. I feel good.
Yeah.
It means waking up, not just with the sun, but listening to birds chirping. Like that was the first thing I heard this morning when I woke up. Before my alarm, I heard the birds chirping. Because it's nice out in Oklahoma right now. I sleep with the windows open, but I heard the birds chirping. Sobriety means having a clean set of sheets and towels in my room and having underwear folded in my drawers. It's the little things that I never took care of before because it wasn't worth it to me. It's, I think, placing a great deal of importance on putting a great deal of importance on washing that one plate that's in your sink. Dude, and picking up that one sock off the floor.
Yeah, it seems so simple, right? But
Kind
to,
of is.
I mean, no, but to you, like
Yeah.
it's monumental.
It is, right.
To the rest of the world, it's like, oh, why would you not pick that up, right?
Right, 100%.
But to you, it's like, no.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, that could be the catalyst.
It
that leads to
spirals everything,
else.
yeah.
Because
I
like
think-
you said in your mindset earlier, what you explained of like, hey, if I'm going to miss one class, I might just miss them all.
Boom,
Right?
exactly.
Right? That's what it
Exactly.
is in your head.
Exactly
Yeah.
that, Mike.
Yeah.
That
And
was
that's
good
not
too,
your
because I
fault
haven't
either.
ever connected that dot until right here, right now. That's totally it.
Right. So it doesn't matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the fact that if you don't do that, then that snowballs into not doing a bunch of other stuff, which that's the important stuff, is the other stuff you forget to do or don't do.
And on the inverse side of that, if I have one beer at 2 p.m., there's no telling where I end up by 2 a.m.
Right.
You know, it's a 1 to n, a one to many pipeline where I'm still getting my life back on track in so many ways. But I wake up and I have the opportunity to take paths to make choices. Like, I am faced on a conscious level multiple times a day, as we all are, I think, with either do this easy thing or do this slightly harder thing. And I can't tell you a single time before deciding to get sober that I ever did the slightly hard thing. Ever. I never would have done it. Ever. Full stop. Doesn't matter what it was in regards to.
Not doing it.
I was taking the easy way out, the lazy chill, whatever's softer and easier, that's for me.
Yeah.
Everything. Because I didn't realize that there was any benefit
Yeah.
to doing a hard thing. What is the benefit to doing hard things? I was watching a guy sketching in a notebook, and he was like spending 5 minutes on this. He wasn't moving his fingers more than a couple inches back and forth. But then he like zooms back, and those little details were making the whole picture. Meanwhile, I sit down at my sketchbook and I'm going like this, big strokes. And I think there's a balance in a you know, there's a balance and a line to tread in both of those approaches. And I think that there's a balance in all of those things. What am I trying to say though, Mike? What am I trying to say?
Value in doing hard things.
Yeah, I don't know what that value is yet, but
I mean,
that's okay.
But
I don't
also
know.
like for you, I mean, and for me, the value I get out of doing hard things is that if I've done something once, I know I can do it again, right? And so if I've jumped into an ice bath for 3 minutes, that seems like the worst thing to do for 10 seconds, and you get through that, and you're like, I can take breaths and I can get through this. Or you do a spin class, which when you go into a spin class and you see those women move and cycle the way that they do, they're made of rubber and magic.
It's absurd, yeah.
It's absurd.
No,
At 5
I don't
a.m.
get it.
as well.
I don't
right?
get it,
Like, how
yeah.
do you move like that?
I know.
But you get through one class and you're like, okay, I'm going to be sore for 2 days, but I can come back.
Yeah, I didn't realize, you know, shouts
not
out to
just
all of my
fitness.
friends
Fitness
who
is just the easiest way to relate
Fitness
to
is
it.
a great lens to look at it through, though.
Yeah.
Have you done one of those ice baths before?
Brutal.
Oh,
Absolutely brutal.
but
you feel amazing after
So,
it, right?
I mean-
like, I don't know how well you felt being high, but like it's a high like
Oh, no.
nothing else.
better.
Right.
And last longer.
Yeah, it does last. That's one thing too that the studies say that it does. The ice bath, the whatever the.
I mean, it's like, what a life hack.
Yeah.
I've only had this ice bath for like a week. I mean, it's funny that you bring it up because like I'm the type of person who tries something new, loves it, and makes it my whole personality. Like that's just what I do. I'm an evangelist. Like I love sharing the things that I love. You know, whatever. This thing is seriously life-changing. Like it was on my. I carry this around. This is my 2024 bingo card of my like goals for the year, random things. You know, go to one yoga class is on here. Haven't done that yet. complete the Italian Duolingo class. That's probably my next one that I'm ticking off. 1 year sober. Like that's like an easy, like as long as I don't drink, that will be something I tick off my bingo card. Take an ice bath is on there. Another one that I like on here that I'll just share for the lulz. Bingo space goal: buy a new suit and not stain, rip, or otherwise damage it. Like just things that I can do this year that. Then I have some other like goals on here. But I loved that take an ice bath was one of the things that I randomly wrote on my bingo card on December 31st of last year.
Yeah.
Printed it out, and I had the opportunity to check off this very simple yet to me meaningful goal. You know,
is that something you've done every year?
No, hell no. Come on, man. I have not had the desire nor capacity nor wherewithal to maintain anything like a goal.
Whose idea was that? Where did it come from?
This is all shout out to my friend Grace Clark, who is one of the most brilliant creative strategists in the world. She's a branding powerhouse.
Okay.
If you see Grazia, the olive oil that you squeeze.
I'm not a fan of olive. I mean,
no, but you know the brand. You don't.
I don't.
Okay, you don't. You're not the target demographic. She popularized and helped market a very successful olive oil.
People listening are screaming down at their phones now. They're like, Mike, how do you not know what that brand is?
Yeah. What am I saying? Grace publishes a an annual goal setting and planning guide that is like, I mean, I'll send you the link so you can put in show notes or something.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not too late to fill it out. We're only in February. Doing that so it's a 4-day workbook that she just put out for free. And it's like, you do it on the 4 days leading up to New Year's. And it has changed my entire perspective of how I approach my work on a quarter to quarter basis with like scheduled, like, it's just good, man. It's super, super helpful. Yeah.
Leading into that then, has that, I mean, I assume already understand and know the answer to this, but how is the impact on your business after this?
I mean, it's just,
doing hard things now, challenging stuff, running at something instead of running away from something, from a business perspective.
It's night and day.
Yeah.
How do I want to say this? I think that one of the things that's the most frustrating about getting sober for me is that my outside world doesn't always immediately sync up with where I am personally. And I've had a lot of tensions. Like, I've had some of the highest highs with my family since getting sober. And I've had some of the lowest lows with certain family members since getting sober. I've had to reevaluate a lot of relationships with family, friends, work, because clarity goes both ways. I'm a lot more honest now than I ever have been, which I like, because I can sit down on a podcast and talk about all of this stuff that 4 years ago you weren't going to get any of this out of me, you know? Even if it was just as, present as a struggle in my life, not nearly as, compounds, whatever. But I've a level of honesty that I take in approach to everything now, I think. But the outside world doesn't always line up with the inside world. And I keep having to remind myself that that's okay. What I know about my work is that I have never been so creatively prolific in my life. Vanity moment, like if we're on Hot Ones and I just ate the 10th wing and like I get to turn to the camera and promote what I'm doing right now. I mean, like, I am one of, how do I want to say this? I'm remembering for the first time in years, I'm a damn good designer and I work really fast and I love the work that I do. It's cool to remember that. I'm not the best designer. There's so much that I can't do, but at what I do and what I love to do, I'm really good at it. And it is so enjoyable for me. And I'd forgotten about how much I love doing that work, fixing problems, finding opportunities where you know, where you can share, where I can help someone, because all the work that I do is client focused.
Yeah.
If I can help someone more authentically share their story, like that sounds so cliche, but at the end of the day, everyone that I work with is hiring me because they have a message that they're trying to get out, and that there's a fundamental roadblock or disconnect where they're saying something in some way and it's just not registering. Or maybe it is, but only for a certain group of people.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem that I can solve, usually.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it's just unsolvable. But usually that is a clear problem that can be addressed with a certain number of algorithms and steps and approaches, not to make it so dehumanized, but when you can break apart a problem and address it with creativity and like empathy and human connection, that to me is the most fun thing ever. So I'm getting back in love with the work that I've always loved.
Yeah.
Because for so long, I was so disenchanted with the work I was doing. It felt menial, and it felt like it wasn't impactful.
Uh-huh.
And if it was impactful, it was impacting the wrong people for the wrong reasons, motivated by the wrong things. It's like, it's not about that.
Yeah.
If I can make the world a little bit more beautiful, like in any way, every day, just a little bit, that's good for me.
It's a mindset change, right? Because all those things that you think of, like they used to mount, you go back to Paris and that used to mount up as like client people calling and projects and just like, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And then there's a bad kind of memory there, or that is associated with, the way that you were going about life. And then now it's the opposite. It's like, I love what I do now. I can't wait to get my hands on projects and change people's lives by doing that.
I also think that there's so much I don't know, and that I'm going to be able to bring my, approach myself to a number of new business adventures and ventures.
Yeah.
Adventures and ventures.
Yeah.
That I don't even know what they look like yet. I mean, from the conversations that I've had in the last couple months alone, it's like, I would never have seen myself in this business.
Sure.
As an owner and operator of something that is so remotely removed from everything that I had, again, wrapped up in the ego and the sense of self and identity. It's like, this is who I am. This is what I do. It's like, branch out, learn something new.
Yeah.
I'm allowing myself to learn new things, and that's nuts. But overall, I just want to say, here's another soundbite.
Yeah.
I can feel it coming. My life is so boring, and that is awesome. My life is so boring, and I could not have asked for anything more perfect at a more perfect time, because I get to enjoy the little things in a way that I never have before. And less stress, less drama. We all want that, I think. And it's still fun.
Yeah.
It's still exciting. I wake up every day excited, and I have bad days still. We all do.
Yeah.
And it's so cliche. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I'm going to say it. My worst days are better than my best days from before. It's true.
Yeah.
It's so true. My worst days are better than my best days from before. And it's like, where am I at? 148 days? That's nothing.
Right.
I got the rest of my life ahead of me. I'm learning more every day. I don't pretend to know anything about this.
What do you think about that conversation you had with the old guy, right? He's like, I've been sober for,
38 years.
38 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a long way to go, but I know it can be done. Let's finish up talking about Sands, because we haven't talked about that yet. And you had a very successful opening party. If you want to, we can call it a party, right?
It was a party for sure.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Tell me about, for people listening, what is Sands and the future of it.
Pause for 1 second. Can I get you a sponsored beverage moment?
I would love a sponsored beverage.
Let's
yeah.
do this.
Cracking.
I brought this for a reason, because I gotta give these away and promote them.
What is your involvement in said drink that you're about to
I got no involvement. I got no involvement other than that I'm a huge fan.
Okay.
Gia. So, do you like spicy things?
No.
Okay, then put that down. You don't like it spicy? Open it
I'll try
open it and try a sip anyway. It's not like gonna overwhelm you. He doesn't like spicy. Try it.
Sumac and chili.
Hate it?
No. I could sip it.
Yeah. So, this is my segue into loss of identity, mourning my past life. Who am I? Am I ever going to have friends again? Will everyone hate me? Does everyone already hate me? Am I a genuinely detestable person, or am I just a drunk? I don't know.
Figuring it out.
Yeah, so I was really lucky to reconnect with some old friends of mine that I knew from middle school, high school days. Or a friend of mine who I knew from middle school, high school days in Oklahoma City. Shouts out class in SAS. She is also sober, and we were talking about, there are all these cool, like, mocktails and non-alcoholic beers and, like, alcohol-removed wines that are actually very decent. And, like, there are so many people who are innovating, truly, in the flavor space of drinks that, you can look at it in the way that, like, alcohol is a dominant flavor profile. And when you remove alcohol, you're opening up a gateway to a lot more flavors that can come through on something, simply. So, like, we're like, let's host a little mocktail party, have some people over. We can get some, cool canned drinks. We can make our own little syrups and spritzes and things. It'll be fun. And then I'm like,
but this is you.
Branding mind. Yeah. Like, all right, but what if we did it at a venue and we gave it a name? What if we called it Sans, right? That's French for without, but like Sans, sans serif font, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. Sans, without. What if we did a whole evening where the idea was that we can connect more without alcohol, that we can live more without. It's like more without. There's something there. Yeah. And then kind of nailed in the coffin when we thought, okay, well, we could also just raise a bunch of money and give it to a nonprofit. That's right. Like, that's cool too. Yeah. So off to the races. In 30 days, like we put up an Instagram account, started making Instagram reels. We've reached like 11,000 accounts in under 30 days. Like, it was just like,
but it's what you do.
But it was also this confirmation of, people really want the option.
Yeah.
People just want the option. Because right now, like, I'm perfectly fine to a point ordering bitters and soda, or club soda and lime, or a Coca-Cola on occasion, But it gets so boring after a while. Like, what? Maybe it is that restaurants and bars don't realize that there are better options out there.
Yeah. They don't, because they get a Pepsi contract or a Coke contract, and then they have their sodas, and that's it.
Maybe.
Right?
So what I did for 2 weeks was I reached out to the Dream Partners. And I'm proud to say on this podcast with you that when I told these national heavy hitters, these paragons of the non-alcoholic beverage industry, what we were doing in Oklahoma City, that we were hosting for the first night ever, a 100-person disco-themed takeover of Resonant Head concert venue in Capitol Hill. And we were gonna have music and people and not a drop of liquor, and it was all gonna be centered around the idea that you don't have to go and get messed up to have fun.
Right.
And by the way, I love what you're doing, and we're, partnered with a cool nonprofit. You want to, can we partner on this? 100% across the board. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Because look, these brands don't have distribution or visibility in Oklahoma, which totally makes sense. You've got non-alcoholic bottle shops like Boisson in New York and Miami, and you've got the New Bar in LA and San Francisco. And what about the rest of the country? We don't have a store where we can go in and grab one of these off the shelf.
Right.
Which is too bad.
Yeah.
We should have something like that. But now you're faced with the other problem, which is, even if there was a store where I could go in and buy these off the shelf, I could probably get a bunch of them cheaper from the manufacturer because I don't have to deal with liquor laws or anything like that.
Right.
It's just a drink. It's like a soda.
Yeah.
It's a
specialty soda.
Spicy, savory soda. I love these things. So as a person who is curious about the zero proof bevy world, where do I start? Whoa, that's intimidating. There's so many options out there, and a lot of them are kind of swill. They're kind of not great.
And I think probably a lot of them just have a zero alcohol option because they have a bunch of other options that are alcohol that make the money.
Totally.
Right, you look at the non-alcoholic beers that Heineken do or whatever.
Tastes like banana water.
Terrible.
Tastes like banana water.
But they have one to say that they can have one.
Yeah, good. Well,
that's how it feels.
At least that's positive signal. I think that we're moving into a space of inclusivity. But then you go to the specialty manufacturers like Athletic is a beer brewing company.
Okay.
And that's a beer. And it just so happens to have less carbs, less calories, and also no alcohol.
Yeah.
But it's delicious, and on a hot summer's day, that hits the spot, man. Yeah. I'm never gonna not enjoy that.
Right.
And there's some people who are, okay, I totally get. If you are wired the way where if you taste the taste of beer and you want to, go out and hit the club and spiral and you lose all sense of true north and, stay away from it. It's not for everyone, right? A lot of people are sensitive in that way. But if you're not, I think that exploration and, mixing flavors together and being creative in that way is one of the things that makes life so fun. So what we're doing is we're creating a space where people can come together and, play around in the sandbox of flavor. When there are no, how do I want to say this? You can play around with flavor because there's no negative consequence here.
Right.
Don't have to watch. You don't have to really moderate. I can go out and drink, I don't know what's in this, 60 calories and a bunch of herbs and things, date concentrate and lemon juice and sumac berry, yuzu juice. I think if I drank a whole case of these, I might have a slightly upset stomach from all the citrus, but it's no different from going out and chugging a bunch of lemonade.
Right.
And it's got less sugar. I guess what I'm trying to say, Mike, is that alcohol, no matter what your relationship with alcohol is, it's hard to deny that it is the root of a lot of evil. When I was in Paris, one night I fell off. I was, drinking, and I fell off one of those Lime scooters, and I shattered my elbow in 3 places, and I was in a cast for months. And
wow,
any
that's not fun.
Any wiser man would have stopped drinking then and there.
Yeah.
But instead, I just took a weekend off. Happened once, not going to happen again. It didn't happen again, thank God. But my elbow's never been the same, and it probably won't ever be. That's that socialized medicine for you, which we can get in. You get what you pay for, exactly. And I love the free treatment. No, I just think that, so much harm. I have caused so much harm to myself and to people that I know and love.
Yeah.
And don't know and don't love and everywhere in between. But indirectly, directly, meaning to, not meaning to. And alcohol's been behind that, what's the other cliche? It's like, I didn't get in trouble every time I was drinking, but every time I got in trouble, I was drinking. Yeah. Like, it's true.
Yeah.
There's a better and more fun way. And I love, like, the designer in me and the marketer in me loves partnering with amazing founders. Like, a lot of these brands are small teams, like 5 to 20 people. A lot of them are like female founded, like minority founded, like they're based in Portland and have distribution in a few cities in the West Coast and have never been to Oklahoma. We had a beer that was from Chicago that had never been in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
For me, if I get to turn people on, like with the ice baths, right? Like, I'm a promoter, I'm an evangelist. Like, I love the things that I love, and I love bringing people into that world that I have. Because, I don't know, if something really works for me, maybe it'll work for someone else. And
it only needs to work for one person for you to make an impact, right?
Yeah, right. So we hosted our first party in early February. It was a huge success. We sold out. We partnered with Remerge of Oklahoma. It's an incredible nonprofit. Donated all the proceeds from the event to them. We got a boatload of amazing drinks donated. We got a venue donated. People latched on.
Saw the photos, dude. It looked like you had a blast.
Did you see what I was wearing?
Yes.
Oh, man.
It looked like full Blades of Glory.
It was sick. It was totally Blades of Glory. Yeah.
Owen Wilson and Blades of Glory.
It was sparkles from head to toe. I had a pearl. I was wearing a pearl neck piece. I don't know how you call it. It was a lot of fun, though, and people had a lot of fun, I think. So we're going to keep doing events. That's something that I can promise for Oklahoma is we're going to keep doing events. You're releasing this on Friday?
This goes out Friday, March 1st.
Great. Our first event of March. No, what am I saying? Not our first. Our next event, our second event, will be a complete 180 from what you've come to experience at our first event. Okay. I wanted to do something completely different from the disco party theme, just to show that, we can do it both. We can do it both ways. Yeah. But if you like great food and live jazz,
I do like jazz music.
Then come to our Instagram page at sans.okc and keep posted there for all updates on all things Sans that are coming in the next couple weeks, because it's going to be like back to back.
Can't wait.
Not just the events, but I wish we were doing this. We're going to have to do a check-in later. I mean, I feel like I've been playing such a small role in this that it is like a community of people who have all been aching for one thing, coming together and just propping up this idea that we can do better than going out and getting drunk and like, you can do that too.
Yeah.
But at least let's have the option of something else. Also, can I just say, because the camera's not on Mike, who was skeptical about liking the spicy drink, killed it in like 5 minutes.
It's gone.
Just crushed the Gia.
It's very good.
It's tasty stuff, man, right?
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah. And I think the spice is helping my allergies right now.
Oh, it clears you right up. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that's that sumac too.
So we could sit here all day. I know we could.
Great.
People listening are probably like, guys, come on.
Yeah, hopefully. Who are you editing these now?
I will edit these down.
But you personally edit these?
Yeah.
How do you do hard things, Mike?
That's one thing. Someone told me that the other day. Someone said, like, I know that whatever you go through in your life, you'll be okay because you've done hard things. And I never thought of it that way, right? Because it was always just something that, like, I'd done. I don't think it's a big deal, but people do. Like, I run an ultra marathon every year, which is 31 miles. It's 50 kilometers, and I've done it every year. I tried to do it every year. 1 year I didn't finish it. It was the second time I tried it. It's in Stillwater, March 15th. So it's 2 weeks. And, like, to me, yeah, it's hard, but it's more of like an inner mental battle more than anything. I think running is an inner mental battle, most things. But not just that, like, I find strength in doing hard things, but it's only because I know that, like I came here, and I've said this multiple times on the podcast, I came here 13 years ago with my golf clubs in a suitcase, right? As much as it probably wouldn't be fun to go back to that, I have power knowing that if I went back to that, I'd be fine, right?
Yeah.
And so, like,
I
kind of draw power from that, but also, like, I generally don't worry about it a lot. Try not to, because you can't do anything about it. And doubt is like, doubt's not great, and people suffer from anxiety and doubt, but if it all works out, then the doubt's pointless, and you've just wasted your energy doing something, right? And it's something I think we figure out once we get older. Like, why am I worried about that? And everyone says the older you get, the less you care about things, right? And you never really understand it until you get a little older, and you're like, I don't care about that. I don't care about this. Like,
or why was I so caught up about this one thing? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so for me, it's just like, there are a lot of other things that I could do that are a lot harder, I would say.
Yeah.
And I've definitely taken the easy road in certain ways. And I said to someone this morning, I feel like my entire life I've kind of cruised, right? Like, I've just done enough. And it's only now that I'm a little older that I'm trying to, like, do the harder stuff and take the challenge. Because why not?
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, why not? Like, I know what's going to happen if I cruise. But what's the one thing that Chef Andrew Black said on the podcast I did with him? He said, every time I go into a situation, I always ask myself, what are the possibilities? And so what are the possibilities of putting in a little bit more effort and doing the hard thing? Like, what's possible if you do the hard thing? And then you look back over your life, and and I do, and I'm like, what would have been possible if I did the hard things more? Where would I be? It might not even be here. It might be somewhere else. So yeah, doing hard things it's not only fun, it just builds you, and you don't realize it because it compounds.
It's the compounding that I think I haven't even come close to seeing the full extent of yet in my life. But, we all see it in other people's lives, right? It's so easy to look at someone else and say, well, of course you got there by doing X, Y, and Z thing over time. Makes sense. Okay, well, apply that to yourself. How would that change things? I don't know.
Little things every day.
The ultramarathons, that's great.
It's fun. It's fun to do. It's fun to, like, cross that finish line and just be like, I just ran 31 miles in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma.
Do you watch that Casey Neistat video that he just put out?
Not the one he just put out. What was it?
About how he runs
the New York Marathon one that he failed and then got.
Well, all he wanted to do, goal was just finish in under 3 hours for a marathon at 26, under 3 hours for some reason, and he ran 3 hours and 1 minute, a dozen times. Like, could not get past just to see 2:59. Like, could not do it. 3 minutes and 50 some seconds. Like, really, truly,
that
by a minute. Yeah. And then he did it.
So I need to watch it.
It's great. No, it's fantastic.
I love him too.
It's a great
videos are amazing. Mate, I appreciate you coming in. Appreciate you sharing.
Mike, thank you so much for having me. This has been a really fun way to do the afternoon. I appreciate you calling me out.
For people listening, go to sans.okc on Instagram. I'll post that link below, and also send me the link for Grace's end of year. Is it Grace? Right.
Grace Clark for her annual planning chart. I will.
We'll put that in the description down below as well.
That's a good one.
So, and if anyone has any questions or wants to just reach out about sobriety, sober, whatever their journey is.
I think I
down as well, and you can talk.
I have this vague memory of saying my phone number at the last podcast.
Did you really?
Did I do that?
I can't remember.
Oh, I think I did, but I've changed my phone number since then. So if anyone wants to text me, I'm 405-508-2621. Just give me a text or call. I'm always happy to chat.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. For people listening, check the links below and we will catch you next episode. Keep an eye on the Sands Instagram for new updates coming very soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Cheers.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln.
This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901. They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. So yeah, go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.